2025 is nearly over and you decide that you want to get into this AI space. Now you're going to be filled with a bunch of questions, right? Do we do an agency? Do we do a solopreneur? Where do I start? What do I do? And it's a very common question. So what I thought today is we're going to have a very casual conversation, break down everything with some beautiful drawings. And really, by the end of this video, you'll understand which path you should take. One will very, very much stand out to which one that you want. And really, you just take the action steps from there. And this is the quick and easiest path to get to and in the automation space. So who am I? Why does it matter? My name's Corey. I run a AI automation business that's very successful, that are making 20, 30,000 per month. Also run a school community that we're just starting up to also teach others how to start an agency. So the people that don't want to do the solopreneur and learn how to build everything, they can come to my community and get all the resources, all the tools, and just go down this agency path. But what I want to do today is let's just talk. This is the main one. My videos prior have been very structured. They've been very much, I have a template what we're going to talk about. And what I don't want to do with this one is just have a casual talk and just do our paths, right? So we have path 1, path 2. Don't worry, I have a pen in the mail so I can draw these a lot nicer. In about 2 weeks that comes. So no more mouse pen drawing like this. So when you first enter the AI space, you have 2 paths, right? You come in and you want to do automation of some sort. You see all these crazy things happening. It's the future. I want to jump on this, but you don't know where. So you do some research and you realize there's people that go out and they start by learning, make.com, N8N, these no-code platforms. But then there's also people that go out and they just hire builders. You would have seen these terms of leveraging the third world country, we'll say, and a lot cheaper rates to do the builds for them. Now, there is no right path to do it. I usually always recommend just doing whatever your strengths are, really. So the solopreneur usually will do all of their builds themselves. So they are the builder. And from there, they sort of hire a team around them. So they become, I wonder if we can do a builder, like a hammer. Is that a hammer? Yeah, sure, that's a hammer. They are a hammer, and then they put the systems and the people around them to drive the revenue up, right? So they are the center. They're in the middle. They're the builders. The whole business revolves around them building. Now, if you're a technical person or if you're very introverted, this is a very appealing path because as you go get to the 5, 10K month, 1,000 per month mark, you have the ability to talk to very few clients. You're the builder. You can turn over profits a lot quicker. You don't need to take as many clients. There's not as much headaches. So really, the cycle will be you talk to a client here. So this will be like your talking stage, and then we go to your building stage. So you start building here, and then you talk to the clients and you close it off, right? That's usually how it goes, and it's a lot simpler to do it. You also charge by the value, really. There's no expenses. So once we start productizing services, you might have like a 5K product here. And because you're skilled and you learned a lot of, just how to do everything, this might only take you 10 hours. So you can see the leverage, the expense and the time between these two is a huge, huge profit margin. Really, there's not really any staff you need to do it. You might put a project manager, a assistant to help with, documentation and collecting everything. But really, you can scale to 50, 100K a month individually with maybe a project manager to just help with all the, contracts and everything as well. That's really sort of your path one, right? This revolves around you. Now with path two, what happens is the business is split into two parts. And this is you here, you, and then you have a builder or a partner is over here. Now, when you go into these, the great thing about this is businesses will, when this model is run, it will split in half, right? So you have, we'll just say front and back, front, front, can't wait till that pen comes, and back. So a business is split in the front end, sales, marketing, outreach, everything but project delivery or building the project. There's benefits to it. There's negatives. We'll go through in a second. But essentially, you start the agency, you go in, you get the clients, and then you hire someone to actually build the builds for you. And they say, "Yep, all done here," and they give it back to you, and then you hand it over to the client. That's the split between front and back. The builder doesn't handle any client communication or any of that sort of stuff. That is purely you, but you handle everything and you don't touch the building. So sort of it works. That's exactly how I scaled my agency. I started as this solopreneur and I started building it, and I realized very quickly that I did not enjoy the building aspect of it. It was very technical, and I come from a very businessy background. So before this, I was in real estate. I tried out marketing agency. I ran my own finance brokering business, self-employed. So my strengths always lied in this front end bit right here. So when I tried jumping into the solopreneur, and a lot of people have this, and this is why I always tell people, like, if you don't have building skills, it's fine. Like, you can still enter this space. Just enter this space. This is a huge opportunity, like possibly the best for your whole generation. When I jumped into it, I realized, this is just not me. So both have their benefits in terms of that. Now, how this looks in a day-to-day, the solopreneur obviously is a very simple path. They do lead generation, they book a meeting with a client, they close the client, they build and do the onboarding, and then they do handoff with the client. Incredibly simple. The only difference will be maybe between here and here. Now let's put like a line. There may be like an assistant, so there might be a gap here where this person goes into, and then maybe here. That's sort of how you start adding the staff, right? So it'll be, I'll close the person, they go to the assistant to send out the contract, although you'd probably automate it. And then the assistant will then give you the builds and, prep everything, do your logins, get all the information that they need from the client, and then you do the building. And then from here, they may do the SOPs in this box here, the final documentation while you just keep remaining building. And they can do all this sort of mundane stuff that can happen in ChatGPT anyway. And then you head off with the client. So the days are very structured with the solopreneur. The day for the agency, obviously, if we draw the same thing, the builders and client, now you're not in this section in here, right? You're not doing this. What you are doing is this and this, the front end and the handover. So you can do that. So right off the bat, we have a staff that we need to manage right here. So you have an expectation and staff, right? You're going to need a builder. You can get experience. You can do a partnership. It helps a lot doing that. If not, you can freelance from Upwork, Fiverr, Indeed. You can find lots of people that help with this stuff. But right off the bat, we're in there. So what a day will look like is, this is how, not so much now, but how I operated mine and built my agency is I would come in and I'll do the lead generation. I'll do the onboarding, which is this bit here. I'd do the onboarding. I'd get the logins. And then I would get a virtual assistant or a project manager. So this is my staff that we have over here. Oh, can't say over here. I get this person and they'll slot in here and they'll do the building notes. They'll do everything else. And then let's go here. Let's go builder. Go to draw like this. And then the project manager, let's make this person in green here and here, handles this whole cycle, these whole lines right here. So my only touch point becomes the sales meeting, which is here, and the onboarding call, and then the handover here. And this is the day-to-day. And then the builder will do the building. Once we've done the onboarding call, then obviously the project manager will step in here. They'll take the recording, the calls, they'll get the transcript, put it through AI, create the building notes, get the logins, update the CRM up, and do all this sort of stuff, and then give it over to the builder. So you can see they're incredibly different on how you get started. Ideally, when you start, you're not going to have a project manager until you hit about the 10K month mark. Ideally, you could probably just run a partnership until the 50 to 100K month mark anyway. As you scale up, your contracts are going to get higher. So rather than take $500 jobs, you might take $5,000 jobs. And then really 10 contracts hits 50K a month. Is that so hard with one person focusing purely on sales and one doing builder? I mean, 10 sales, that's 10 onboarding, 10 SOPs, 10 logins and setups. It's really not a lot to achieve in a month, right? That's, you could do that in, 2 every week, fairly straightforward. So you can scale it up with that. But these are really your 2 paths that you have. The third path, which is sort of the wild card, is you could just ditch both models and do consulting. We have gone into this era of the start of no code automations becoming irrelevant and redundant, really. You see it with Zapier. Like, Zapier is a fantastic platform, but eventually, like Make took it over, right? Make is a fantastic platform, still is. And then N8N sort of took it over and it's sort of going up. Now, the next step will likely be ChatGPT or some sort of LLM will take over that part. So the building isn't really necessary. We see this in platforms like Replit. We see it in Replit is you can build full dashboards and you can bypass all programming. You can build Python scripts by just writing it in, right? The vibe coding. This will sort of take the reins for the next evolution step. So prepping for the future, you may not want to do the building path because you're thinking about maybe these tools. Maybe I'm really good at analytical, but maybe these tools are sort of the best, or I feel like they're going to start becoming redundant. Maybe you don't want to do an agency path because you don't want to deal with the touch points of lots of client communication. So you have like at the front and then you have at the back end and then the bits in the middle talking to the client. If there's an error or you need clarification, then you have to talk to the client to give to the builder. The third step is just doing consulting. Questionable whether, you can make a lot more money, but rather than doing an action agency and a build, I feel like consulting sort of that mid-tier. We're building or some sort of, service base for these companies are a lot higher. They're, huge 5, 10, up to 20K deals. Depending on the builds you make, where consulting, it's harder to justify this unless you go to enterprise level and you do full implementation systems with overview of other AI teams implementing stuff. But then that's sort of going out of the realms of consulting. Consulting is where we would go in, we understand the platforms, so we know, maybe I have a list like this of knowledge. I don't have a physical list, but like a knowledge of platforms. And I know, this might be all my just social media platforms. So I know what's in there. I know these are the platforms that sort of help run like a real estate agency, maybe, CRM system, how I implement scraping systems to look at other houses. And you just compile a lot of these things. So this is more of a knowledge base um, leadership role to the people. From here, you then learn the frameworks. So, there'll be like 3 frameworks on how to implement. We need to sort of follow, are we covering everything? Because at the end of the day, you're going to provide advice to these people. So you want to know that if you recommend a tech stack, and automation, that it actually works, right? You don't want to just say, hey, use GPT and it'll do everything. I want to make a high quality video, and you say, yeah, Canva, easy. So you need frameworks. You need to know the impact. A, do they work? B, the impact, and C, that it's actually fitting into their overall goals that they want for the business. The 5, 10 year goals. So that is really consulting in a nutshell. You'll go through and you'll have the sort of knowledge. So rather than the technical, so this is more technical. This is more business. That was a bad B. Business. Bad. I tell you what, I can't wait till this pen comes. And then this is more of a like a thought. We'll call it thought. Thought. No comment on that. And really, these are your 3, right? When you do your consulting, you'll do these. You'll do the framework, and then you give them sort of a roadmap. You say, okay, you need X, Y, Z. The best way to do it is we free up these 3 areas. These are sort of the ones that have the highest impact. And then from there, what we do is we build a map, essentially a roadmap, like a 5 to 10 page roadmap, and then we give it to the client. Services, you can either do like an hourly service for $100 to $1,000 per hour, just talking to them on a call, or you can do actually full roadmaps for them, which is around the $2,000 to $5,000 mark, depending on how complicated the service is. These, you build the roadmap and you give it to the clients pay you, and then the clients then take your roadmap and approach an agency or a solopreneur, and they say, build this. And that's, detailed brick by brick. This is what I need to build. So you don't actually do any of the building. You're purely there to make the impact on the business by giving advice. Now, obviously, going from 0 to consulting, you'd have to know how businesses work, really. You need to know terminology. You need to know how AI works, AI terminology. The last thing you want to do is do consulting and you're like, yeah, connect this to that. And then, solopreneur or the agencies, maybe you say like, hey, do a HTTP request. Let's go into the back end of this, and then you sort of keep it vague, and the solopreneur and agency is like, okay, is this a get or a post call? Right. Yeah. And the client ain't going to know that. That's for you to be detailed enough in your roadmap to be like, hey, we should do this. Like this fits into what we're talking about. So if you know all these things, then 100% you can go into consulting. You could learn a singular platform. Maybe you learn, the fundamentals of implementing, GPT for prompt engineering, and you want someone to connect up GPT model to answer, as like agents within N8N. You could narrow it down into specific singular industry and platform. So really, this is your 3 paths that you have going, and all of them work. There's not a single one that doesn't work. The whole AI space at the moment is like the gold rush. It's the wild, wild west, really. Like there is no rules. There's no standard ways to do things. Some people are doing it this way. Some people are doing that way. Both are working. So the theme is just get in and do it. Go to your strengths is what I always tell people. If you're not good at tech stuff or you've never done tech stuff, then the agency path's probably best for you. You still need to learn some sort of things. With an agency, you can't just go in and just say you're going to do something and then not know how to do it. You still need to advise in your sales meetings, hey, okay, yeah, now this is right, we can do that. Last thing you want to do is say, yes, we can do that, and then, yes, we can't do it. It's an impossible task. But then if you're more of a techie person and you don't really want to do the front end stuff, then you do a solopreneur and work on quality and taking on higher value clients and delivering the best results and putting people around you. Eventually, you would enter into a partnership like this over here, where you would be this person, and then we hire a sales rep to do the front end. And then if you're just none of them and you want to just consult and sort of build a consultancy around it, then you just go down the thought path. So hope that clarifies to anyone looking to start in here. Excuse my wonderful Picasso drawings. They are stunning. I know. I've gotten compliments from my project manager and my builders. If you do want to go down the agency route, I have a school community, as I mentioned at the beginning. Just starting out and putting all the stuff together, but you can join the wait list and get a lifetime locked in membership at that price. And I'll give you all the resources to scale exactly how I scaled mine. We've gotten to over 50K in the first 5 months of actually opening it. And I learned maybe a month max of make.com. So I've sort of tested what works, what doesn't work. All of that is in the community, as well as community calls and all that sort of stuff. And I'm going to leave it there. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message, or my socials are at the bottom in here. If you want to chat with myself and my team, then the calendar link is below. Have a fabulous day.